Is this right here the biggest wellness trend of the entire decade?
How big is Kava? Is it the next greatest wellness trend?
There's really no doubt Kava has the ability to be probably maybe even the biggest wellness trend of our entire lifetime, honestly. Definitely of this decade, of the coming decade. And I don't think that's a grandiose statement at all. Right now, we're seeing this explosive rise in functional ingredients. Obviously, we're right in the middle of a plant renaissance, I would call it, right? A plant and natural health renaissance, you could call it, where the entire culture, obviously Western culture, but cultures around the world are seeing this like explosive underlying desire and rediscovery of all things natural and natural health, right? So whether it be plant compounds like the decriminalization and medicinal use of psychedelic medicines like psilocybin, or the cannabis explosion, right? Where cannabis beverage and Delta 8 beverages are everywhere, right? And then you've got functional mushrooms like Reishi, Cordyceps, and shiitake and maitake or lion's mane, all of those things, right? You guys have heard Huberman talk. So you have this explosion of all of these different plant compounds, but just natural wellness in general, right? Like everyone's doing cold plunges and using red light therapy and hyperbaric medicine, hyperbaric therapy and stuff. The biggest podcasters or the biggest media platforms in the world are those that are have a specific focus on health, wellness, personal development, and human optimization. Gary Breck is out there doing his thing, and Huberman's out there, and people on Rogan's platform and all of that, right? So when we talk about just the information and what people are driven towards, a lot of it is health trends. And that's because that's a natural reaction to the explosive chronic disease epidemic that we're experiencing, where there's chronic diseases everywhere. There's disconnection, isolation, loneliness, all of those. And so people are looking for solutions to those. That's where the plant renaissance comes from. So at the core of this sort of the rise of biohacking, regenerative medicine and make America healthy again and all this stuff that's going on, you kind of have this desire towards natural medicines, specifically plant medicines. So what's kind of been undersold though is this really amazing one that's kind of been the underdog for a while, but it's gonna kind of come on in a really explosive way, and it's Kava. Out of all the psychoactive medicinal plant medicines that are on the menu of options right today, there's only one that entire cultures in a certain part of the world are built around, and that's Kava, right? So in Polynesia, I'm talking about Polynesia, so the South Pacific Islands, and that's where Kava grows. Kava would be proliferative outside that if it grew everywhere, there's no doubt about it. But because of the way that it's always been upheld and that the culture has essentially been built around it, they use it for weddings and funerals and spiritual ceremonies, social gatherings, it's ubiquitous across the entire culture. And we look at that as sort of a microcosm of what's to come in the future in modern culture on the macro. And it's helped to actually shape a lot of the health patterns, and it's actually been widely attributed to making a substantial contribution to the levels of mental health that they have and the lack of mental illness or physical illness as well too, because the principles that come along with just embracing a natural medicine like that instead of embracing something like alcohol. Okay, so I say all of that to kind of tee up that this is not a grandiose statement at all, to say that Kava might be one of the biggest health trends. There are some products that come in and out, that are kind of pushed and contrived and placed in the market by industry and by marketing, right? That are just kind of in today, out tomorrow, right? Big corporations will sort of contrive in a boardroom, marketing around a substance, and they'll push it and it'll get a big craze. But if there's no substance behind it that people have an actual drive towards, it's kind of in today, out tomorrow. And that's where trends come from. They're pushed by marketing, and obviously it catches on with the percentage of the population and they come and go. So there's some products and there's some compounds that just come in and out like that. And then there are some that come and shape culture because they meet an underlying drive and desire that we have as humans to be healthy, to be optimal, to connect authentically. So Kava actually encapsulates all of those things. It's the symbol of human connection in Polynesia. It's the symbol of mental health, essentially, right? This is interesting too. Michael Pollan, famous author, came out with one of his last books, I think it was a couple years ago, and he was on, I think, Rogan's podcast, and he was talking about, did a great job of articulating how coffee, back in the early 1900s, helped to collectively shape the collective productivity-driven mind of the culture. And that was the advent of coffee breaks, was developed by corporations that were trying to put people in a state to where they would be more productive, they would desire to be more productive, and obviously they would have, more energy. And coffee is a medicine that accents that psychology, right? And it made a significant contribution to shaping, right, how our values and how we place that on productivity, right? So that exact same thing Kava has done in Polynesia. And so it's helped to shape a mentally healthy, sort of deeply connected community in Polynesia as well too. And if you think about the things that are in line with all these immersive trends, the underlying desires to be connected, to be healthy, to be mentally optimal today, all of the desires that are driving this entire market, Kava meets all of those. So it's kind of the perfect medicine to meet today's needs, right? Not only does it have attributes that people want all of the time, but it is a perfect medicine to fill those things. And so it is estimated that Kava, as we integrate it into modern culture, that Kava will eventually become as common as a cup of coffee.